think is we try to really embrace the fact that we have to be healthy in order to do good business. And if you are not taking care of yourself and you're just working, it's not the right thing, right? Born and raised in upstate New York, graduated with a BS in mechanical engineering and worked back east until 1980. Our speaker, Eric Raz, moved to San Jose, California to continue his postgraduate education, and since then he's actually working in the area of helping others live a healthier life. I'm trying to say as much as I can without exposing him. So, he's an awesome guy, and I had a one-on-one with him, and I feel that a lot of the things that you're going to hear today will give you some great idea about how to live healthier till 100 years old. So please help me welcome Dr. Eric Raz to the stage.
Well, the last several weeks, we've heard a lot of great business talks, and we're changing the subject matter to more health-related today. Has anybody in the room ever heard of an organization that's a nonprofit by the name of Healthy Child, Healthy World? Okay. Due to some tragedy in a very young girl's life, and health tragedy, she passed away, and so this family got together and they're promoting living a healthy lifestyle. You can look them up on the internet. And so this first little video they put together, it's just a really short one, and it just really strikes true to me, and I think you'll enjoy it as well. And we'll see how the sound is here. really is very, very special and touching. Today, though, you know, I'm going to be talking about you all here living what I call the 100-year lifestyle. This theme and this logo does come from a best-selling author. He has several books out, and I think it's important to realize that we as a society are living longer. Even Dr. Oz, my brother, as some would say, says that we do have the genetic potential to live to 100 years and beyond. The statistics currently say that right now there are about 85,000 centenarians, people that are already over 100 years of age in the country. They predict by the year 2050 that that number could grow between 2 and 4 million. And that's not even taking into consideration the 60 to probably 60 to 80 million people that will be living in the 80s and 90s. So get ready for it. You know, people 100 years ago did not expect to be living this long. Life expectancies were much less for a variety of reasons back then. So this topic about, you know, how to live healthy to 100 years can be so broad. I can talk about exercise for an hour, nutrition for an hour, so many different things. So for a short 15 minutes here, I just wanted to just pull one little area of the body out and discuss it. And you'll find it, I think, fascinating. So we're going to just talk about your skeletal system. Your bones. Most people think the bones are nothing more than sticks to hold us up, okay? Of course, they are where your muscles attach. But why is the skeletal system so important? Okay, these are the many roles that your bones provide. As we talked about, they are structural support. They allow you to walk around, your muscles attached to them, but there's so much more than that. If you think about it, they act as a protective armor to very vital organs. All of the organs behind the rib cage are pretty well protected by the ribs. The skull, of course, is going to protect your brain and all the sensitive tissues surrounding it. Most people don't realize, though, that the bone marrow is actually the manufacturing plant of your blood cells. Not just the red blood cells shown in the picture, but your white blood cells, your platelets. All of the cells that actually help your body and your immune system are being manufactured every day within the bone marrow. The next thing that most people may recognize is it's a mineral bank. And I say pH bank also. We'll talk about your pH, the alkalinity or the acidity of your body as well. But 99% of your calcium and other minerals is being stored in the bones. Now, why do we have such a storehouse of calcium? The thing that people don't realize is that this remote control needs several clicks to move forward. Is that your brain, for example, requires on a daily basis 150 milligrams of calcium that is being released from the bones into the bloodstream in a specific form that your brain utilizes. Your hearing, your heart, 100 milligrams every day. As you can see, the digestive tract and all that it's involved with requires 600 to 900 milligrams of bone-released calcium every day from this storage tank bank. So this is why you've heard that our bones turn over roughly 10 times throughout our lifetime. 5 of those occur by the time we reach 20 years of age, because as a youth, we're growing, our bones are lengthening, and we're just turning it over very rapidly. So how does this process happen? This is a cute little characterization of how bone turnover occurs. Those little purple balls, I call them my little Pac-Men, those are called osteoclasts. These little cells chew away at the bone, releasing collagen and certain fragments so that it gets released into the bloodstream so that your body can utilize these calcium stores. This process can be measured. If you take blood tests, you can tell with little markers that it's happening properly. So you don't want to walk around with bones that have a lot of pits in them. So what does your body do? It replaces that old bone with new bone with a cell called osteoblasts. So it rebuilds, removes the old bone and rebuilds with new bone. It's a wonderful process, a wonderful cyclical process. When it's in balance, your bones are strong and healthy, and your body's getting that regular release of calcium into the bloodstream. But you've probably heard, I would imagine, does anybody in this room know anybody that has osteopenia, osteoporosis? Okay? It's becoming more and more prevalent in our society. This slide, I believe, is relatively old. I think these numbers are quite a bit higher now. But for those that actually have gone in and had their bone density test done, which many have not, there's currently over 12 million people that have been diagnosed with osteoporosis, 40 million with osteopenia, which is not full-blown osteoporosis, but more of a thinning of the bone, but not quite as far along. And then, needless to say, there's more than 66 million people that have one form of arthritis or joint or bone-related condition. So the bones are very important, and the studies are even indicating that our youth is at risk these days. These kids that are growing up on fast food diets and several of other things, playing video games instead of being out in the yard and getting exercise. So they say that in women in particular, that there is a 50% chance in your lifetime of having a brittle bone or osteoporotic fracture. There's over 2 million fractures per year due to osteoporosis, not just the hip, which this picture shows. This can happen in other bones as well, as you'll see. And the sad news is that in the senior citizen population, if one does have an osteoporotic fracture that leads them into a nursing home, there's a 20% mortality rate for that particular individual, statistically speaking. This is just a slide for the fun of it, just to give you a picture of a hip replacement if you've ever seen one before, the titanium piece of metal in there. This is a microscopic view of what your bones look like on the inside. You can see all the cavities. It's very Swiss cheesy. The reason for this is to enhance the surface area. So those little cells can get in there and release the calcium when they need it in a very efficient fashion and rebuild it. As you move across the slide to the right, you can see that it starts to look a little bit thinner in the middle. That's the osteopenia. And on the far right is the full-blown osteoporosis. You can see it's not nearly as dense. I like this one. This happens to be the picture of a spinal vertebrae. You all know you've got these bones stacked on top of one another in your spine. And the left one is, as a younger individual, you can see the dense architecture of what's called a trabecular pattern there. And on the right is a 75-year-old, which you can see just by looking at it. You don't even want to sneeze if you've got that type of a bone in your back, because you know what's going to happen. This next picture actually shows an artist's rendition of what a compression fracture in the middle of the back may look like. You've seen people before, when this happens, it's really hard for them to stand up straight once that vertebrae starts collapsing like that. Interestingly enough, even after this type of a fracture, the bone tends to re-heal and people go on, but believe me, there's a lot of compression on your organs and there's a lot of discomfort from the muscles, always trying to figure out why you're so slouched over. So this just basically shows that, one person is nice and upright and somebody else is much more likely. And so be aware, this particular book is a bit detailed, but if anybody is really interested, actually I want to leave that on for the very tail end. Okay, that's fine. You can open it. I'll open it. Turn it back on again. Okay. This book here, The Whole Body Approach to Osteoporosis by Keith McCormick, is really written very well. So if you ever have an interest in diving in, and he talks all about nutritional things and blood tests, and it's not just for a medical person. It's really well written. So if you do want more information on that. So here again, the pharmaceutical industry, we love them, really, not really. They do try to make a lot of money with a class of drugs called bisphosphonates. You've probably heard of Boniva. Sally Fields, the Flying Nun, advertises for them. Fosamax, Actonel, Reclass. There is a ton of them. And they are unfortunately coming out more and more in the news with all these side effects. It used to be they gave them to you orally, and then all these digestive problems were occurring. So now they do it by IV. They're trying to keep that drug industry alive, but they're finding more and more people are actually just having spontaneous fractures of the hip. If you can visualize a twig, a stick, that has broken off the tree and so it's dead. It's really hard. So if you take a nail and you try to put into it, you go, wow, that's really hard. So these drugs, on one hand, may harden the bone, but quite honestly, it becomes a little bit more brittle. What these drugs do is they actually kill those cells, the osteoclasts, or really diminishes their ability to take and chew away at the old bone, which unfortunately is what you need to supply your organs with every day. So let's just kind of get back to the basics here. We understand the importance of calcium and vitamin D. Everybody knows about that. And I know that over the last several years, they've downed the recommended amount of calcium that you really should be supplementing. It used to be 1,500, 1,600 for sure in most women. But they're finding that so many of our foods are fortified with calcium that we're getting a little carried away with taking too much. So get yourself on a good diet with calcium-rich foods. Real briefly here on the pH chart. Our body is always trying to maintain a little bit above a 7.3 blood pH. And every day we put things into our mouths that affects that pH, either more alkaline or more acidic. They have shown that cancer cells and all types of inflammatory conditions are more likely to thrive in a more acidic environment. So we want to try to really learn about the foods and the items that create more of an alkalinity. Your body is wonderful. If you just sit there and drink Diet Coke all day long, acid, 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 what's it going to do? It's going to have to compensate for that somehow. Guess what? By drawing calcium out of the bones as a buffering agent to bring your pH back into balance. So, the list is probably hard for you all to read. Obviously, processed foods and coffee and any of these things in excess will lead to more of an acidic environment in your body. And then good, good healthy whole foods and vegetables are more likely to be alkaline. So that's the direction that you really want to move. So the 100-year lifestyle, maybe we'll get a question in a minute here, but like I say, there's so much more to the 100-year lifestyle than just the health of your bones. But I just wanted to pick one topic to discuss today because I kind of find that whole skeletal system interesting. So we all know, don't underestimate the value of regular exercise, getting your heart pumping and your circulation. The brain needs good circulation, everything. Weight control, your food choices, whether they be acidic or alkaline, not too much on the carbonated beverages. The anti-inflammatory diet, I could spend an hour talking about the importance of that as well. The things that do create inflammation in the body versus the things that calm it down. And vitamin D3, of course, as well. I'd like to just close with one short video. And then, if there's time, only if there's time, open it up for some questions.